Starting a charity from scratch is no easy task, but GIVIT's founder, Juliette Wright, has far exceeded even her expectations. In just 11 years, they have made nearly 2 million donations and helped countless Australians get back on their feet. With their virtual warehouse and ensuring people receive exactly what they need, GIVIT is a unique concept which has earned the respect of government and even the royal family. Juliette, hi, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm so interested to hear all about GIVIT because it's such a unique concept.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's been great to work with you all in the past, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thanks, Juliette. So tell me how GIVIT came about, because, you know, it's not easy to start a charity. So how did it all begin?
12 years ago, I had a baby boy, Hudson, and he actually gained a lot of weight really fast. When he was about 6 weeks, he went from 000 to size 1 really quickly. And all of the clothes that I had got given, I was asked by my father-in-law to wean him like a cow because he was gaining weight so fast. But all the clothes I got given, I wanted to donate because he'd never worn them and they were brand new, like Calvin Klein. Like I had cousins from America who were giving me Ralph Lauren clothes and such beautiful items. And I was about to put them in my local donation bin and someone had put a severed pig head in the local donation. So I was about to put them in there and I went, I'm not putting them in a bin because that's what that has been treated like, a bin. So I got it in my heart that I wanted to give the clothes directly to a charity. And so I rang all the charities from Burpengary all the way down to Brisbane, and there was none of them that wanted them. So I asked them, well, what do you need? And they said, we need closed-toe work boots, or we need sanitary items, but not just one kind, a variety of different types, and undies, new undies, because people kept on donating used underwear. So I realised when I fulfilled those needs, and I realised when I met them that charities didn't have a daily way of requesting the needs of their clients. They also didn't have a warehouse full of stuff out the back for a rainy day. And we're full of microwaves or bikes just to fulfill their clients' needs. And so I thought what I'll do is I'll create GIVIT and then they can request exactly what they need when they have a client come through the door. And fingers crossed, someone out there will want to give directly to that person. And lo and behold, I think in the next few months, we're going to hit 2 million donations.
Oh, wow. That is incredible. That is amazing. Juliette, it all happened very quickly, didn't it, from the start, from when you started, because within two years you became the government's official website for donations and for disaster donations. So tell me that.
It was only up and running 10, 11 months when the cyclone Yasi hit. And then Premier Anna Bligh asked GIVIT if we could capture and manage all the offers of goods and services. So what was happening is that if you wanted to help and donate items, she put a link to GIVIT. The GIVIT website had, up until that time, done 3,000 donations. And it was after the floods that we received 1.8 million hits in 10 days. And donations were absolutely flying. So I feel like GIVIT's always been growing really fast. It's like being on a rocket and just holding on. But unfortunately, it's been like holding on to a rocket but not having enough money to fly the rocket. So like every charity, sustainability is such a massive part of surviving. And I was really lucky that when I created GIVIT, we also created, my husband helped me with this part, to create an online virtual warehouse. So you can actually pledge items that you have in your home and we capture them in the online warehouse. And that has really helped us shape the way we do recovery in Queensland. And now we're in New South Wales, Victoria and ACT, parts of Western Australia, and have people all over Australia managing offers of goods and services.
Yeah. So, Juliette, I mentioned earlier that it's such a unique concept, and you mentioned about the virtual warehouse. But how does it actually work? Because you have an association with lots of many charities, different charities in throughout Australia. So, how does it all work?
So we have 3,500 charities registered across Australia using GIVIT. And just say I'm a user, I could be from the Red Cross and I'm a Red Cross user, and I will log in, I'll put in my passcode and go into GIVIT's online charity portal. And then I'll put in my postcode and what I'm looking for, kind of like Gumtree, where you actually just do a search for the items that you're looking for. And then all the items that have been pledged or registered by donors like yourself all across Australia will come up. But the search filters will narrow it down. So if I put in bed, postcode 4000 for Brisbane, and I'm willing to travel 20 kilometres, I can see all the beds that have been registered in that local area. They all have photos. So if I'm sitting with my client, they can look through and they can see all the items. But just say it's not there, what you're looking for is not there, you can then request it, and that goes on the public-facing website that you can see. And so you log on and go, oh, I've got a bed to donate. So you put in your postcode and you see all the items that are needed in your local area. But it's all very transparent. When a charity requests something, they specify the transportation. When you pledge something, you specify the transportation. So sometimes it can be a bit frustrating. You'll have a fridge here and the need for a fridge here, but neither can pick up or drop off. Yeah, so but it's still flowing. Donations are always flowing. And a couple of months ago, we did 40,000 donations in 1 week.
Oh my gosh. So, Juliette, it's not just in times of disaster like, this year bushfires and last year floods. It's everyday problems that people face that you support too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So in Queensland, for example, we've got about 1,600 charities that use GIVIT. Now, that's on a daily basis. And we just do their donation procurement for them. So they can request a fridge, a microwave, clothing, whatever it is that client needs, because we can't guess what that client needs, but the charity knows full well what they need. And so then generous Queenslanders and Australians will donate to that. But in times of disasters, particular areas get hit by an emergency like a cyclone or COVID, and they may need, their community may need more items. So we do disaster recovery with the smaller charities on the front line, but in an emergency, we scale up, so does the Red Cross, the Salvos, emergency services all scale up, and they request tens of thousands of items through GIVIT. So our goal is to make sure wherever we function that we have lots and lots of charities all over the state functioning. So wherever the disaster hits, we have people on the ground who can request whatever it is that those people in that community need in their most urgent need.
Juliette, sometimes people's well-meaning intentions during times of disaster can actually cause more of a problem for the people on the front line, so to speak, can't they? Because there's just so many items coming in, and there's people that have to handle that as well as everything else that they're doing in that moment. So through GIVIT, I think you've allayed a lot of that pressure. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's right, because unsolicited donations, particularly in times of disasters in the red zone, for example, where that emergency may actually be, donations can actually inhibit recovery and actually stop people receiving the support that they need, because people have to sort and distribute through items that are often extremely poor quality. So I personally believe that donation quality goes from about 90-95% in peacetime, for example, to 20-25% quality in disasters. And I would love to know the reason why, but I think that in times of disasters, people will donate whatever they've got to give, regardless of quality, because they think that anyone anyone who's lost everything will take anything, which is actually the total opposite. So if you right now had lost everything, you don't want my pillow or my spectacles or my shoes. You might want my my very good quality, gently used guest bed, but you know, you're going to be quite picky about what you can and can't take because you're in a different situation. So GIVIT's really sensitive to the needs of the recipients, and so are the charities that are requesting that. We make sure that we say no quite kindly to those poor quality donations, and remembering every donation in the system has a photograph, so that really helps us determine whether the mattresses, the washing machines or the fridges are actually good to give.
Juliette, you must live in a constant state of emotion, because for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you, there's nothing more emotional than people giving things and seeing that kindness. And I remember once, and it might have been Cyclone Yahtzee, but my little girl cleaned out her money box and, you know, wanted to take it to the bank. And I was almost in tears in the bank while she's handing over the money. So, but just hearing those stories of kindness and generosity. So what's it like for you on a daily basis?
Oh, I think Australians are incredibly generous. In fact, sometimes they're so generous that too many donations come into an area and maybe actually impact the local businesses. So we've kind of we want to make sure that we channel the generosity of Australians to meet the real needs of actual people and make sure that we don't do any devastation to the local economy and the local rural shops and things like that. But when you get a donor who actually fulfills a real and urgent need in the right way, the ripple effect, it's a win-win-win-win for everybody. The donor knows that they have actually had a significant impact in the well-being of that community and that recipient, and made it a lasting difference to them in their recovery. It could be poverty or a disaster. The local business that we channel it through feels like that they're being supported when they too have been devastated. But the recipient also feels completely honoured and has a sense of dignity because they've received quality items. And of course, the charity that's requested it feels like a hero. Very grateful that they have the generosity of Australians, but they can fill their clients' urgent needs. But I have definitely been overwhelmed by thank yous, and I have given a billion thank yous. I live in a grateful, generous world, very generous world. For example, yesterday we were quite concerned because there's Victorian charities in need of masks, and they can't protect their volunteers and their staff without the masks. So, you know, it's going to inhibit them opening their doors and actually providing relief. So I felt really charged, and I felt it was really important to find like 20,000 masks yesterday morning. Anyway, so I'm just thinking, and I've got a horseshoe necklace on here, and I just rub my little necklace. You know, what can I do? Who do I know? Who do I know? What do I know? And the first person that I asked said yes, and provided the transport and the covering the transport to Melbourne, and it's going to arrive tomorrow. So, you know, how do you thank that person? I feel like I need to own a florist.
Or buy shares in a florist at least. What would your most requested item be, Juliette, do you think?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, what's the most important item in your house? I think there's just all those household essential items. So the bed linen, the bed, the washing machine, the fridge, like those critical things. But, you know, what's really important to me and my family, what's an essential item to me might be completely different to you. So, for example, there was a boy who had schizophrenia, and they requested an MP3 player for him, and we got him an iPod, and because the music helps settle the voices in his head, which is saving his life. So an essential item for this child is an iTunes voucher, or was at the time an iTunes voucher and an iPod, so that he could actually listen to music whenever he needed to. So an essential item for others is for some, but I'd say those core household essential items now, it depends on the phase though. For example, when we all went into COVID, laptops and digital devices that could do FaceTime or some sort of video link. They were in high demand. You had grandparents that needed to actually have a smartphone so that they could look at their family but also do online shopping. And you had mothers with children who they might have only have had one laptop in their house, and suddenly you've got 4 people requiring a device. So it was and is always depending on the event. If it was a cyclone, if we had a cyclone today, in 3 days' time, I can tell you we'll need safety gear, sanitary items, hygiene products, and a lot of gurneys. so it really depends on the event.
Yeah. Juliette, you released or announced some exciting news a few weeks ago that you've just that the Duchess of Cornwall is patron for GIVIT now. So how did that come about, and how is that going to change things for GIVIT?
So she reached out to the GIVIT team through her EA and said that she was really devastated by what she was watching on her television and the unfolding devastation of the fires and the effects on communities, families, individuals, and the wildlife. And she wanted to make a modest donation via GIVIT because she was really amazed at how GIVIT helped communities in a practical way. So a fire-affected community would make the request, and then we would buy that request locally. And I think the donation went so well. She purchased 20 backpacks for children returning to school at Ebor, haircuts for families doing it really tough in Gyra, nappies and bedding for a family on the south coast who lost stuff in the fires, items in the fires. And so, you know, she'd helped a number of communities through her donation. And I just then said, it was great, thank you so much for your support. And they came back and said, well, how else can we help you? And I said, well, I was wondering if she would like to be our patron. And she came back and said yes, which is the surprise of my life. And the team and I had a meeting with her a couple of weeks ago via Zoom, and it was probably the most exciting, giddy thing that has happened to me since my wedding day. It was pretty exciting. She's so lovely. She's such a generous, nice, kind woman. And, you know, she said that she's so proud to be our patron and she's never, ever seen a charity like us in the world, and how come it's not everywhere. So she understands how unique it is.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's just wonderful. And it will be so good for GIVIT going forward to have her on board. Juliette, you've mentioned before about people keeping things local, buying products locally. So if there's somebody that's wanting to help and say they want to buy a fridge and store it in the virtual warehouse until you're ready, they could actually buy that fridge in a local town for the person that's needing it, or whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, not necessarily a fridge. So, you know, that's so such a great thing of keeping those communities ticking along too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We have had the most incredible feedback, particularly after the Townsville floods and the Gladstone fires, from businesses saying to us that we wouldn't have survived if you had have brought in donations. And actually the fact is that you're pushing donations through us into the community is meaning that our business is now turned around and we can bring on an extra staff member, or we won't shut down now. So it's an honour to do that. I have to say, I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. I was in a town after the floods, and I'm not going to say which town it was in, but just after the Townsville floods, I hope I'm not identifying the town, because I was at one supermarket, little supermarket, and we just spent $5,000 on vouchers. And that was going to be distributed by the councils and local charities. And I was walking across the road and I got a phone call from the council going, oh my God, the other actual grocery store is devastated that you're not actually going to put $2,500 there. And I said, I'm literally 2 meters away and I'm on my way and I'm going to spend another 5,000 there. Just wait. So you realise you have to not only make sure that the donations are, being spent locally, but evenly across the businesses as well, because times are tough. Times are really tough. And now with the lack of tourism in these regions, it's important that GIVIT actually do not bring in donated goods. Even little tiny stationery packs can devastate the local news agency. It's really important that we just buy locally. And then if people can donate a fridge in their local area to someone in local need, that's great. But when it comes to the majority of the metro areas supporting the rural areas, it has to be cash only.
Yeah. I mean, Juliette, of my involvement with Sisters of the North, and that was just such an integral part of the success of our model, was making sure that all that money stayed within those communities. So that was my biggest lesson, I guess, and the biggest thing I learned from being involved with the charity was to support those communities that were affected through, financially helping those businesses. So you have certainly paved the way. Yeah. Juliette, sorry.
I remember after or just before Cyclone Debbie, I took it to the board for this buy local policy, and I thought the GIVIT would fail after that policy was enacted. But mind you, so the idea is that in these local towns, we only buy locally. We don't bring in any external donations. Maybe if you can't support yourself with water or things like that, we'll bring stuff in. And I thought that GIVIT was going to fail, because our point of difference in the whole marketplace was that we didn't want your money, we wanted your fridge or your microwave. So it was really jumping over a cliff, but it was so embraced by local councils and it was so embraced by the community. There was a bit of education around it involved. Like I remember spending a lot of time talking about it on the ABC radio. But people got it immediately. They understood that donations can do harm and generosity can be misguided and do harm. So it's really lovely. I'm thinking GIVIT, after we're about to hit 12 years old and 2 million donations and 3,500 charities, these big goals that we're achieving. But I'm most proud of the fact is I think the model is right now. I think the model is complete. It's correct. It's in favour of local communities, and it's making sure people get exactly what they need when they need it the most.
Juliette, I can just picture you as a cartoon character floating along on your magic carpet, weaving magic to everywhere you go.
Oh, thank you. You yourself have been a bit of a genie in a bottle, because your model was amazing, how you got innovation and you got the businesses to sign on and understand a concept that was new. And you got around the financial costs of actually pushing that money out as well. So you need to put your hand up, pat on the back, because you actually rolled out a significant amount of money with very little overheads indeed. I think your overheads were close to zero, so well done.
Yeah, thanks, Juliette. It was absolutely a team effort, and we just had the right people brought to us at the right time, and they were just terrific people. So thank you. But it's been a big job, but we've had good people. So Juliette, if people want to get behind GIVIT and give some support, how do they do that?
It's really easy. You just go to givit.org.au. I can't spell, so it's just GIVIT. And you go on there and then you just go donate items, and you can put in your postcode and you'll see all the items that are needed in your local area. Or you can go and see a campaign and see all the items that are needed by people who are devastated by COVID. Devastating.
Yeah.
The poverty, it's so bad. This is a long, drawn-out disaster that just keeps on getting worse. So, I'm not saying I've seen it all, but the you know, we haven't seen the worst of it yet.
No, we haven't. I don't think. Juliette, I wanted to ask, because I went on the other night and had a look at what items you were needing, and there were a lot of requests for knitting needles. So what is the story behind the knitting needles?
Oh, well, I haven't actually seen that request, but I can tell you that for mental health services, particularly when they can't do contact items, but they can actually give someone some sterilised knitting needles and some wool, and they can actually sit around and they can create items together or separately. So there might be a program for mental health, might be a way that they're entertaining the elderly. They might be a community group that's actually supporting another community group by doing beanies. I have to tell you, I think I've seen the most random requests go through GIVIT. It's amazing what charities need, but what's really hard to understand, and not now, but when I first started, I couldn't understand that a charity simply couldn't afford a pair of nail clippers for their clients. I couldn't understand why they couldn't provide this and that. And then I realised how many clients they have. They're not Kmart. They don't have a shop at the back. And if they provided every one of their clients nail clippers, they would have no money for their service delivery. So when you go onto the website, I feel just release your judgment. I released my judgment about year 3 when we were in Western Australia and there was a charity requesting a boxing bag for a mother. And I was looking through the list and I was going, that's an I want, not an I need item. So therefore, it's not an essential item. I don't think that that's a good request the charity should be making. And my Western Australian manager went, no, I really trust this charity. And I said, well, okay. Anyway, the charity found out that I was a bit dubious on that, and they sent me a message. And they said, the mother has received the boxing bag. Thank you so much for GIVIT. Since she's put it up, her boys have been using it every day and they have not hit her once.
Oh my God.
So the charities don't tell us everything. You just trust that the knitting needles are really needed. Trust that the nail clippers are essential. Trust that person really needs a bed, because the charity's gone out of their way to request that, and I can guarantee you it's a real need, but they may not have given you the whole story.
Yeah. Well, Juliette, I had goosebumps just reading all about what you do and the kindness and the generosity of people. So I hope that more Australians even get on board and stock up your virtual warehouse. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me the time.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.